Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another virtual reading. As someone who's recently had some experience with the ER, I have
Eek.
a renewed appreciation for healthcare workers like Shawna and her poetry, which, is so real and brilliant and heartfelt. So it's a great privilege to welcome Shawna Swetech. So Shawna, I will turn it over to you and ask everybody, please mute yourselves in case there's background noise that could be distracting. And then at some point, Shawna may or may not invite questions and comments. Probably she will, but it's up to her. And that point, she'll ask you to, and I'll ask you to unmute yourself. So I'm going to mute myself and ask you all to join me in that. And Shawna, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Larry, for inviting me, and thank you everybody who came to listen today. I have a kind of varied selection. I'm going to be definitely reading some of my healthcare poems, medical narrative. I've got some art and ekphrastic work, and then just a few other random pieces to share. So I'll just get right on going. This first poem is called Ars Poetica, which for some of the non-poetry people, it's a writing about poetry or writing about writing. Okay, so Ars Poetica. When my right hand readies the pen, the left props under my chin, and soon the fun begins. From behind my pupils rises my book of art, smooth tumbled birth of metaphor and thought. You were born to write, Saraswati, goddess of poetry, says, gifting me a bindi between my brows. Jewel of the third eye's start, an anodyne, a blood spark. All these years and lines strung together of beauty with a sting of stone. But long as I live, they'll flower and flow from soul to hand to the white paper page, those blackly inked blossoms of love and rage. Thank you. And now I'm gonna sort of go into my medical ones, but this first poem, one day I was looking around to try to find a place to submit one of my medical poems, and I wound up on the Journal of American Medical Association. And while I was reading their splash page, trying to figure out how to get my work over there, I saw over in the little side panel, and it said the diagnosis and treatment of poems syndrome. And of course, I had to read that, and then I had to write about it. So this is the diagnosis and treatment of poems syndrome. Journal of American Medical Association article. Oh my God, that's what I have, I shout, diving for a pen. Must be why I eat and drink of poetry's luminous language like I'm starving. Why I buy so many poetry books, devouring their metaphor, music, and magic. Why I must write down the conjure of my mind, storylines, an image of the now, the past, the made-up future. My inner voice spinning syntax, fragments of dreams of light. And why I'm compelled to slip into my next poem a new word I've just heard, or an old one that wakes me at 3 a.m. so that I have to jump up to scribe in the dark. Like the other night, in popped cingulate gyrus, an area in the brain that butterflies your belly with excitement and trembles your limbs with fear. But luckily, my poem's syndrome isn't the untreatable blood disorder of polyneuropathy, organomegaly, edema, monoclonal protein, or skin changes that cause red spots and hairy legs. No, my condition is more chronic, a one-by-one tattooing of my cells over years, turning my retinas into microscopes or looking glasses, so that everything I see or feel slides right down my arm, through my fingers, and out the end of my pen. It won't kill me, but I do hope to die companionably with it long into old age. Just before lights out, I'll be rummaging in the nightstand for a scrap of paper to scribe one last line. Okay, this is what I love at work. The morning stethoscope ritual, lifting it from around my neck, warming its bell on my hands so the patient won't jump, inserting the gray rubber tips into my ears, opening the back of the patient's gown, and then resting my left hand on their shoulder. Take a deep breath, I say, auscultating lung fields between scapulae, moving down the spine one side to the other, hearing the tidal flow of critical gases exchanging, the blow and breach of the chest's twin whales, inhaling, exhaling. I listen for bibasilar crackles of heart failure, coarse congestion of pneumonia, wheeze of asthma, egophony, rattles, rhonchi, stridor, or silence from emphysema, cancer, a lobectomy. The overlay of intestinal digestive borborygmi, the clicks and gurgles of peristalsis echoing through the belly. All the while, I'm marveling at the body's largest organ, noting skin color, tattoos, scars, tan lines, wrinkles, hair, visible ribs, and soft, fleshy rolls. Thousands of people, thousands of bodies. What I love is the brief, breathtaking intimacy of eavesdropping on organs performing their moment-to-moment miracles. This poem is called A Seasoned Nurse. Every effluvia and excreta a body produces has spilled or splashed on my shoes, my uniforms, my hands. All those germy little bombs dropleting into eyes, nose, and mouth these past 35 years. Right now, for example, I'm in the break room about to have lunch. I look down, and there on my pant leg is a silver dollar-sized blop of somebody's blood. You're probably horrified, but it's so nothing next to the things I've seen. Infected incisions, gangrenous toes, untended wounds alive with maggots. I make a mental note to spray and wash it later as I dive into my green salad and leftovers. I don't even get up to wipe it off. A true nurse right there. All right, and the next couple of poems, nursing is a hard job. It's hard on so many different levels. But one of the things that just went into my heart the most was, helping somebody pass away and dealing with people who have life-threatening illness. So there's a couple that are going to go down that road. This next one is called Drowning. In the break room, air conditioners, shh, shh, like waves rolling, crashing. Not like the sounds coming from the patient I just left. A back of the throat gurgle, every exhalation like a breaching whale. Not like yesterday, her last coherent words to me. Nurse, am I going to die? Someone tell me what makes a person drink until the body drowns in its own poisons, when the hand bringing death to the lips could stop, but won't. Tell me why that hand keeps on and on until comatose and liver failed. A 40-year-old becomes hollow, a shell beached on a shoreline of white sheets. Part of my career, I was a chemo nurse, and so I was with patients who had been hospitalized for extended periods of time getting chemo. And this is one of those experiences. It's called bone structure. The bones have hollowed, become thin and see-through, their osseous structure disordered by leukemia's fulminant blaze. Red marrow crowded out. Now the metamorphosis is complete. From the doorway, chemo bag in hand, I pause, observe him heavily reclined in medicated sleep. The charcoal hollows of eye socket, skin stretched skeletal over craggy cliffs of cheeks. The thin sticks of arms angling straight out from his shoulders in a perfect T. I half expect that right in front of me, he'll wing up from the bed and fly into the ethers. Okay, this one is called Catatonic, and it was published in the American Journal of Nursing. Catatonic, 12-hour shift completed, 12 hours of flitting room to room, a wingless bird stopping only to peck, peck, peck at the computer before flying off to the med cart, the dressing cart, the pantry, grabbing linen, calling the doctor, giving a shot, a pill, a tray of food, helping someone out of bed, giving hope, giving answers, talking, teaching, assessing, rushing, room to room, hour after hour. Finally, I pull onto home's dark drive, cut the engine, and close my eyes. Feel the weight of my bones, the throbbing legs and feet. As the car door swings open, our cat springs onto the jam, demanding to be picked up. I cradle him high on my chest, bury my face in his long white fur, and pet him with both hands, lost in the tonic of softness, the deep vibration of his throaty vibrato. So I wrote a series of poems that's in my just completed full-length collection of my nursing poems. And so I kind of wrote them right up to my retirement, a year later, 2 years, and this one is the last one I wrote, which is at the 3-year mark. This was published in a pure slush anthology called Retirement. 3 years later, because every day is Saturday and it's always my weekend off. And because my closet is devoid of nursing uniforms and duty shoes, my morning starts not to alarm's 5 a.m. explosion, but to sunrise peeking around the curtains. I shift the low back ache as our cat leaps onto the bed, purring and patting through my hair found across a pillow. I feel the heat from the man next to me, same heat and same man I've woken to for more than 50 years. I extricate myself from the chrysalis of comforter, amble to the bathroom. After, I down a glass of water to rinse my insides like they say to do, turn the coffee maker on, check the weather forecast, then look out the kitchen windows to marvel at cloud formations, the oaks with blue jays bouncing limb to limb, the deer sometimes wandering through our flower beds. I might decide to brew decaf and feed the cats, or instead go back to bed for one more snuggle before the day begins its slow unfoldment, its beautiful blooming. Yay to retirement. Love the job, love retirement. All right, now I'm gonna do some screen sharing, and I've got some ekphrastic poems to share with you. And for those that don't know ekphrastic, what that means, it's a type of poem that is written in response to art. A couple of the art pieces are other people's, and then a few of them are mine. So I am gonna share my screen. Okay. Can you all see that okay? Perfect. So this first piece, it's a friend of mine did an art print. Her name is Susan Dubin. She lives down in Petaluma. And she basically used Sumi ink and painted the entire front of somebody and had them lay on this paper. And this is the art that was created from that. And my poem is called The Somber Dress. Sumi ink flows downward like a chiffon gown, cascading over breasts, narrow waist, and hips. Sleeves or long gloves grow from the blot of shoulders. Light scatters here and here where paper white blows through. But it's missing the head. There's no face or beseeching eyes. No twisting chignon above a long, bejeweled neck. As if the black frock is its own bodiless being, or having ascended on cyclonic winds now floats to earth, the owner, naked, making landfall elsewhere. Even as I write this, the globe is warming. Glaciers pour and pour their clean water into the sea. Ice disappears from the poles. I worry about polar bears, where they'll go, and what will survive the rising. I worry about storms, the next category 5 in the Caribbean blossoming beside the flattened Bahamas. If this art could just lift me, the density of black, the imprint and shadows, an invisible landscape to escape in. But no, to deny even a moment the eye wall of what's coming, I'd have to be empty and headless, like this somber dress. And this next art was created by a gal named Sharon Pastor, who's down in the Bay Area. We got to go to her studio and spend a couple hours writing to her work. And these are very large panels made with cold wax and just spectacular. And she had named this piece A Perfect World, In a Perfect World. And so I wrote my poem based on the title. In a perfect world, I can't stand far enough away to gather the corners of what I think, except to look at cubes of color as individual entities, black dusted with teal over plum and overpainted with sienna, a cattle prod of tangerine goading the pale cream. To blend into yellow, green, and blue, I fall into the riverbed of stones below, swim in the flow like a sleek salmon, waiting for dinner to drop from a sky that no one questions. It's amazing how in a perfect world, everything we need just magically appears. And this next one is one of my acrylic paints with some collage added in and lettering. And I did this one a couple of years ago, obviously in 2021, and it was published in the art piece and the poem also in an anthology entitled Feline Utopia. Cubist Cat in 2021. Cat yowls himself into cubism, slings stark line blocks of shaped color onto the page. A bright mirror, an orange-yellow walled sky. Cat fuses with a drip of blue, making him forget what's next, the broken bits, the everywhere wrongs, and so abstracts everything to distract all meaning. I mean, look at those green eyes, those roundly slitted moons, that jet black, just licked, slicked back fur. Then watching me, watching him, Cubist Cat does what all cool cats do, sniffs the air, turns tail, and splits the scene. And I have a cat that looks exactly like this. Okie dokie. This next one is a postcard poem. For three years now, I've participated in the Poetry Postcard Festival that's out of Seattle, Washington, and it's the 18th year that's been going on. So this year there's over 600 participants from 48 US states and 9 countries around the world. So basically you get a list, your name is on it, there's 32 names on your list, and you make a postcard with poetry on it and send to each one of the people on your list, and then you get to receive from those same people. It's supposed to be spontaneous. In other words, you don't write a poem and then you write it onto your postcard. You're supposed to write it directly right on to the back of the, no revision, no nothing, which is a little, it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's super fun to do. And so this is the first year I participated, I did all of my own collages and then on the front, and then I did my my poem on the back. So this is one that I did, and I just fell in love with this picture and the colors in it. And so it became Change. Let's see, what did I do? Where is that? Okay, this is called Running from Change. This is me running from the thing I despise the most, change. Not the easy daily things, not like nail polish or fresh lipstick, the hard stuff, the widening of the waist, the slack of age. Like a tree in the fall, stubbornly hanging onto the last brown leaf, it takes a storm for me to let go. And this is another one. Just an interesting picture that I found somewhere, collaged it and found a word, and away I went. So this is called Seek. Today, I seek to blend skin to sky, soul to cloud. No boundary between me and the white earth of my soul, the flowing, endless winds of the universe. Today, I am not alone. I wait for moon shadows to light my inner darkness. I open the door to what comes. Alrighty, this next poem is one I wrote 20 years ago, almost to the exact time. And I wrote it for a poetry contest that was sponsored by Sebastopol Center for the Arts. And the contest was called Handwriting on the Wall. And I got a merit award. I hadn't been writing for very long, so I remember getting the phone call and just literally jumping up and down. It was so thrilling. So the poem is called What His Hand Reveals, and I dedicate this to my husband, Jay, as we, within a few weeks, are going to be celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary. What his hand reveals. His hand slides warm and wide under my red shirt along the small of my back. I tilt my face to nuzzle the space under his chin, breathe in the musk of what he is, familiar, comforting, my mate of more than 30 years. In the viscera of my gut, surprise, nearing disbelief at this miracle, the transformation from what was, when I deadened my body to his touch, our love buried in a coffin of pain, the deceit, addiction, infidelities of two people whose notion of love came from movies, fairy tales, and family catastrophe. Year after year, we flailed bloody the walls, fought predictions of broken home, divorce, failure. But we chanted, therapied, 12-stepped, self-helped, urged on by some inner guide's insistence, the odds, statistics, the handwriting on the wall wasn't true. That the middle of our lives would find us here, embracing in our kitchen in the early morning light. Thank you. Okay, and let's see, the end of June, I had the immense fun and pleasure of flying to Albuquerque, New Mexico with Sandy Anfong and Monica Volker, two of my poetry pals. And we went to the Jimmy Santiago Baca writing retreat for a long weekend, and it was absolutely fantastic. And we got to do some writing there. And if you don't know Jimmy Santiago Baca's work, it's very raw, really truth-telling. And so we were encouraged to write, from that same place, some, hard things, things that maybe we didn't want to write about, memories and so forth, things of our life. And so I wrote this back there. And it's called Mother. Oh, and also it is a haibun. And again, for you non-poetry people, a haibun is a prose poem followed by a 3-line haiku. So I will read the prose with a little tiny break, and then I'll do the haiku. It's called Mother on Her Deathbed. Gray shot hair stringing onto the pillow, eyes closed, more than open now, family all around, come across state lines and hundreds of miles to sit crying and telling stories starting, remember that time? My older sister and me, our grown children, spouses, but not our father, her husband of almost 60 years. He's still at home, though he's loved her all this time, through World War II, the torpedoing of his ship during the Battle of Savo Island. Afterward, their move to California for the Golden State's golden opportunities, everything left behind but his burn scars and trauma. His every Friday night to Sunday evening ritual started soon after that, sipping from a beer can, then secretly filling it with hard stuff over and over. Saturday dinners when the shaking fork couldn't find his mouth, passing out over the coffee table, false teeth flying on the floor in front of him, his Jekyll and Hydeness flaring and fading, like the burning oil when his ship sank dead of night in that South Pacific Sea. I remember asking my mother why she didn't just take us back to the family farm in North Carolina. I told him I was going to leave him once, she huffed. Early evening now. Dad finally arrives, dabbing his old eyes and pacing. We watch him sidle up to the head of the bed, bend down, and try to place a last kiss on her cheek. We watch her cut her eyes at him, then quickly turn her face away. We watch darkness fall, sorrow slicing the room like a guillotine. The next morning, she passes away. Lightning, flash flood warning, bird song so far away. Thank you. All right, just a couple left, so if I can jam through these. This one is Summer's Blue Plate Special. It's August, and California has grown amber and dry as wheat chaff. Queen Anne's lace folds her white kerchiefs into small green fists. Naked ladies push buds skyward on burnt umbel pedicles, displaying their pink petticoats. Drupelets of fat berries purple my tongue, my fingertips, and the red striped gold of ripe Gravensteins on the old apple tree roll into the road in the afternoon breeze. I stop my stroll to pick a few, and the begging mules come nickering and snorting like a group of elderly smokers trying to clear their throats. I scratch the fuzzy skyscrapers of their ears before tossing some of the bounty into the pasture. In the night, I wake at 4 a.m., open the window behind my bed to feel the cool marine air on my face on purpose, to avoid thinking of other summers' incendiary disasters or my unpacked to-go bags. I listen instead to the great horned owl foghorning from the oaks. Remember the resident quail family, their 2-inch chicks skittering across a meadow. The ocean just 12 miles away, those moonlit waves frothing onto still warm sand. The garden's sun-warmed tomatoes, stone fruit, yellow fat squash. I think of childhood summers, skateboarding, backyard barbecues, the beach, sleepovers with neighbor girls, and how for 3 months straight I wore no shoes at all. This technique I call my blue plate, how I survive the season special. I pile my plate higher and higher with all of summer's past and present joys until I can see nothing else. I think I'm going to end there. I had a couple more, but I see it's 10:30 and I just wanted to open it up. Anybody want to ask a question or say anything before we say goodbye and start the rest of our morning?
I see Rita has go ahead.
Shawna, what is the name of your healthcare collection and where can we get it?
Good
Well,
question.
I'm still searching for my publisher. So I don't have it just yet, but I hope to within the, sometime this upcoming year.
What's the title of it?
It's called Standing in Their Fire. And that was Larry sent out the poem, I guess, with the invitation for this reading, but that's the title of it.
Oh yeah, that's a wonderful poem.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So Shawna, I want to thank you so much. This was an absolute delight, and
Oh,
what a perfect way to start this beautiful Saturday summer day.
thank you so very much for inviting me, and thank you everybody for popping in, and yeah.
And if anybody would like a recording of this, please send either me or Shawna a message and we'll send you the link to the recording.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to be listening and watching this again. So thank you all very much for joining us. And I don't have another reading planned. I'm taking a break for a few months, but I'll let you know the next time we do.